Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. Oops. I started with the mic test. All right. So, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys have been well. Today is a Monday, the 15th of September. And I'm trying to squeeze in this discourse during my lunch break. All right. So I hope you guys have been doing well, being right in the middle of two major eclipses. I do not have to say more. But anyway, I've got a topic for you guys. Probably many of you already have this in your mind and probably wanted to suggest this. In fact, thank you for all the suggestions. A lot of you guys have been bringing about a lot of topic suggestions. I'm taking them all in. So thank you and keep them coming. So today, as the title speaks, why no contact isn't the end and how to shift the field on the monadic twin flame journey. So today's teaching is one that every one of us divine feminines would have asked some point in the journey. How do I get out of no contact with my divine masculine? Oh my god, even thinking about it hurts just like it does. The pain is the pain, right? And I want to tell you this right at the start. No contact is not accident. In fact, in many videos I keep saying it. It is proof that your journey, it is not proof that your journey has failed. In fact, it is proof that your journey is alive. It is a sacred reversal built into the monadic twin flame architecture itself. So today we are going to break down what no contact actually is on the monadic twin flame journey, why it happens even when the love is so real, the hidden work for divine masculines, what our divine masculine is doing when he's so silent. Of course, the parting pictures. I've always noticed, divine masculines initial separation stages, even if they don't post, they'll keep posting and partying, like they are so happy. They have to just show it to you that they're extremely happy. But what they don't understand is we don't look at pictures, we read energies. That's our divine feminine gift, right? Again, what is our role? We're all shifting the field, the real signs that contact is about to reopen, and finally how to handle it when it does. So, shall we begin? No contact is not rejection, it is the reverse view. The soul literally flips the polarity so that both of you are forced to purge distortions. If you try to break it by force with constant tax, begging, or even, oh my god, apologizing, we have all been there before, right? As divine feminines, where we are apologizing to our DM for no reason when he's like literally, go away, you're a stalker, right? Like sometimes when because even he knows that you don't have to apologize because you haven't done anything wrong to begin with. So the tax or begging or you're trying to bring him food or trying to repair the situation or ultimatums, you're fighting your own soul blueprint. So the first step to getting out of no contact is recognizing this silence is medicine, it's not punishment. So, what is our divine masculine doing during the silence? On the surface, it would look like full blown avoidance. All of a sudden, he's partying, he's living the high life in category one. He's totally detouring towards karmics, constant karmics, like changing pairs of genes, or, the silent initiate, even though they're having a total spiritual collapse out there, they just want to pretend to the outside world. That's why I call that category the playboy monk. That was my initial, before I made it sound much more polished, the inner monk. The truth is divine masculines are full of crap. So on the surface, it looks like avoidance. Energetically, it is our divine masculine's nervous system collapsing and deflecting. He cannot metabolize our frequency yet. Silence is survival. That's why the field holds both of you apart until his system can stabilize. And that only happens when your system has stabilized first. So this brings us to the divine feminine role. The only way that silence ends is when you anchor 0 point. That means stop rehearsing his rejection. Stop thinking about him saying, I'm not interested, or, blah, 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 and blah. Stop rehearsing his rejection. Regulate your own nervous system so you don't collapse. Hold his image neutrally. Take him off the pedestal. Pedestals are okay. Pedestals should not even exist. Pedestals should be for your parents and for people who have raised you. Truly, if you put your parents up on a pedestal, your parents will at least be like, oh, I've raised you. They'll at least be happy. But putting our divine masculine up a pedestal, think about it now, it'll be ridiculous. So that's why learn to hold your divine masculine's image with neutrality, not with longing, not with disgust either, but with equality. Like how you talk to a normal person. And when you do this, you collapse the karmic wave that created no contact in the first place. So, how do you know when the field is ready to shift? Here are the signs. You really don't bother about his silence. You don't cry over his silence anymore. You feel your divine masculine's presence without obsessing. Dreams and synchronicities pick up. You feel open to contact but no longer desperate for it. So this is the period where like you're totally like you're okay with anything. That's when the contact reopens naturally. It could be a message, it could be bumming into each other in Chinatown, it could be a random encounter. It won't be forced. It will flow. Really, when God orchestrates, nothing can prevent. So think about it. You guys may be living in the same country or you may be oceans apart. But if God decides, you can bump into each other in the airport, you can bump into each other in the mall. Think about how intelligent divine has to be for you to like to orchestrate that perfect moment where you're like walking in the opposite directions of each other. See, that's the reason why that can never and when you are trying to force a meeting, the divine would be totally preventing you. Like you would be delayed, you will still spill coffee on your shirt, you will trip, that's why sometimes you really got to trust the universe. So how do you know when the field is ready to shift? Here are the signs, right? How do you really know? You really don't cry over his silence. You feel his presence without obsessing. And this is the magic one. Dreams and synchronicities pick up. You feel open to contact, but really no longer desperate for it. And I'm repeating this because I want to emphasize this. That's when contact reopens naturally. Anything. It won't be forced, it will flow. And when the contact does come in, here's how to handle it. Keep it grounded. Less is more. Don't get overexcited or don't go all war zone on him. Don't call him out. Don't embarrass him. Don't bring up old events. Give him a break. It took him a lot of courage, to come and face you in the first place. So don't expect him to apologize either. When whatever he did was in ignorance, he doesn't know what he did was wrong. So you can't expect him to apologize. Apology is so 3D, right? Realization is multidimensional. So mirror your divine masculine space. The apology will naturally come through his actions, not words. Don't unload all of your years of longing in one go either. Like, oh, I missed you so much. I missed you kissing me. I missed you just standing next to me. I missed cooking with you. I missed drinking with. Don't even use the miss word. If the fields feel unstable, run away. That's my advice. If you're feeling thirsty, if you're feeling anxious, that's the universe saying that you got to take a break. That's why don't even reply immediately. Give it some time. He messages you, give it like a day or two. And when you feel calm, reply. And most importantly, don't use contact as a proof of union. Oh my goodness, please. Contact is not the destination. It's just a calibration test, it is a total calibration test. That's why, so far we have looked at why no contact is not rejection, but a field reversal of purification, right? We're going to delve deeper. Why is his silence the medicine? What our divine masculine is really doing during this period, and what are the feminine's hidden initiations inside the cocoon of no contact is what we're going to talk about. So why is silence the medicine? Silence is not passive, it's active field work. Every time our divine masculine goes quiet, the polarity between you both reconfigures. The silence exposes every attachment, illusion, and dependency you still carry. That is why it feels unbearable. It is pulling up the wounds you would never face if he kept reassuring you. From the outside, it looks like avoidance, but internally, his system is regulating. His nervous system is shutting down the channel that feels overloaded. His psyche is compartmentalizing it, choosing survival over intimacy. His soul is recalibrating how much you, his beloved divine feminine, your frequency he can hold. So silence isn't him but being cruel. That's so 3D. Oh my goodness. It's him holding on to life while swimming in currents that overwhelm him. So don't be the current. Of course, we do have a lot of electricity surging through us. So here's the hard truth. No contact is less about him and more about us, the divine feminine. We are being initiated into self-regulation. Can we hold the charge without collapsing? Non-attachment. Can we love without needing proof? Neutrality. Can we stop seeing our divine masculine as a savior or a villain, but as someone who is just our divine husband? This is how you shift from being a seeker of validation to being the anchor in the monadic twin flame field. So, why chasing prolonged silence? The more you push against no contact, the longer it lasts. Why? Because chasing reinforces collapse. Every "why are you ignoring me" text is your nervous system screaming for rescue. And the moment you do that, the reverse field gets stronger. Only when you stop trying to end it does the cycle finally break. So you will know you're passing the test of silence when you can feel your divine masculine's energy without obsessing. The heart chakra, they say just visions in your head. It's all true. You can go through your day without replaying the last words he said. You no longer feel that primal ache in your chest when he doesn't show up. At that stage, you don't just end no contact, you've evolved beyond needing it. So remember, silence is the soul's scalpel. It cuts out distortions you cannot remove on your own. If you hate it, you prolong it. If you surrender to it, you collapse it. And that's why no contact is the cocoon every twin flame has to pass through. So now we're going to talk about the transition out of no contact, because many of you have asked what happens when he finally comes back. I've done discourses on this, but I'll keep doing them. You keep asking, many of you ask me, what happens when he finally comes back? Why does it feel so strange, awkward, or even disappointing at first? So I'm going to talk about these things. Why the return never looks like the fantasy you held in your head. If you are still having that fantasy, then you're still in performance stage. I'm sorry to break that to you. When his first moves after silence, what his first moves after silence really mean, and how, as the divine feminine, we should handle these fragile moments, and why the awkwardness is not failure, it's calibration. Oh my goodness, every time our divine masculine says awkward, it's like a code. Literally, it's like a code to get the hell out of there. But as divine feminines, we don't listen, don't we? It's a problem with all females all throughout the galaxies. The feminine energy just doesn't listen, right? So when no contact breaks, you expect fireworks. You expect him to pour out his heart, apologize. Instead, he might act casual. He might act very casual, even distant. Why? Because his nervous system is testing waters. He's checking, can I survive contact without collapsing again or drowning in the ocean of my divine feminine? That awkward small talk is not rejection, it's a calibration tool. That's why when he kicks you out or tells you it's awkward, go away. What his first moves mean. Maybe it's a random message, maybe it's a practical question, maybe it could be about a conversation where you are talking about something and maybe a friend asked about it. So maybe you could contact you on that context. Hey, example, you're a doctor and your divine masculine knows someone who needs help in your specialty. So he may be like, oh, remember you're talking to me about these new age medical pathway. Could you tell me about it? That's an icebreaker. Obviously, so that's why maybe it's a pretend casual run-in. He might just bump into you, but it's never about the content, it's about the field test. He's saying, can we hold this connection lightly without overwhelming him? So don't judge the words, read the field. That's why this is the most fragile state. What is our role as the divine feminine? And we always have the hardest task, to respond neutrally, to mirror our divine masculine space, to keep the energy grounded. It's difficult. We get so excited, right? So if you dump years of longing into the first text, you will collapse again. If you match his lightness with neutrality, he can stay present. You're not proving love here. You're stabilizing frequency. That's what you got to remember. And why awkwardness is calibration. Here's the secret. Awkwardness is proof that the field is shifting. It means you are no longer in collapse. You are in recalibration. Every pause, every half smile, every how have you been in a system, learning how to exist with yours without panic. It's not failure, it's union training wheels. Really, that's why awkwardness should be held. See, that's why I really love, we should have a dictionary of divine masculine terminologies. Not interested, awkward. It's like, how can you feel awkward with someone you spend so much time with, right? But you see, divine masculines are just full of crap. That's why I think one of my art projects should be that the most common terminologies our beloved divine masculines use. Awkward, not interested, blocking, trying to, oh my god, the list can go on and go on. But you see, the secret is awkwardness is proof that the field is shifting. It really means you're no longer in collapse, you're in recalibration. Every pause, every half smile, every how have you been in a system, learning how to exist with yours without panic. It's not failure, it's union training wheels. And that's why I'm going to emphasize this once and twice and even more if I have to. So when no contact ends, don't expect a fairy tale. Expect calibration. Awkwardness is not proof of disinterest. Definitely not. Not interested is what people would say. Instagram ads. We use the not interested option because we don't want to see those ads. So when the divine masculine uses it on you, remember you're not an advertisement. So awkwardness is not proof of disinterest, it's proof of movement. You see, most of the time divine masculines have a problem with language. Well. So remember, our job is not to demand depth right away. Our job is to hold the field steady so depth can emerge over time. No contact ends when. So don't treat no contact ends when he speaks. No contact ends not when he speaks, but when you can both speak without collapsing the field again. So I want to go deeper. Why does contact not equate to union? Why do so many divine feminines mistake the first test, call, or encounter as it's finally happening, only to end up in disappointment again? So we're going to unpack the stages between silence and stabilization so you can see exactly where you are in the process. The first time he messages, calls, or shows up again, that's reconnection, right? But reconnecting is not union. It's not stabilizing union yet. It's the opening of a door, not the merging of the fields. Union requires stability, and stability only comes when both nervous systems can stay present without collapsing or deflecting. I'm being very firm here. Why, as the divine feminine, we often overread contact? As the divine feminine, we are just trained to overreact, right? We tend to see contact as validation, and then you're still in performance stage. He spoke, so he must feel ready. He messaged, so he loves me so much. But that's the same attachment mood redressed. Contact is not proof of his emotional maturity either. It's proof that the field is softening its progress but not the finish line. So, calibration stage. After reconnection comes calibration. This is the awkward, sometimes frustrating middle stage where our divine masculine shows up, then disappears again. Conversations feel light or even shallow. All fears still get triggered. It's not failure, it's recalibration. But if you are testing how much closeness you can hold without destabilizing the field again, that's why the calibration stage is very important. So only when both of you can remain consistent, open, and non-collapsing does stabilization begin. Because stabilization is not fireworks, it's steadiness. All right, please, there's a difference. It looks like conversations that don't spiral, meetings that feel natural, contact that doesn't produce panic or thirstiness or anxiety or fear or desperation or begging or him running, you chasing, you begging him for forgiveness when there's nothing wrong except for you being you and him being him. This is the soil in which real union can take root. So that's why it's so important for you to remember this. Contact doesn't equal union. Reconnection is just the doorway. Calibration is just the hallway. Stabilization is the room where union can finally exist. If you rush it, you push him back into collapse. If you let it unfold naturally, you'll see that every small interaction is building toward the field that you can finally hold. That's why there's no such thing as bad interaction either. So let me be very, very clear. Sometimes you think, hey, this and that, and really, that's why I'm going to complete this discourse with something very practical and powerful. How to stay out of the no contact cycle once contact reopens. Because many of you experience this loop: silence, contact, collapse, silence again. Today I'll show you why it happens and how to break it permanently. The cycle looks like this, all right? Silence, he withdraws, you collapse. Contact, he resurfaces, you feel relief. Collapse, too much pressure, triggers explode, and then silence again. This loop keeps repeating until both fields can stabilize. The goal is not just to get him back, it's to stop the loop. It repeats because neither nervous system has completed integration. The masculine, divine masculine, our beloved divine masculine, he collapses under emotional intensity. And that's why sometimes you wonder, why does he act so indifferent? Why does he act so aloof? Doesn't he feel anything? Why is he running away? Why is he being, my God, there's a word for it. I don't want to use it. But why? Sometimes the damage our divine masculine does to us would make us even feel like we are some, you know what I mean. But you see, the divine masculine collapses under emotional intensity, and we, the divine feminine, collapse under emotional absence. And so the field keeps snapping back into reversal until regulation is anchored in both. So, breaking the loop, here's how you break the pattern, all right? Number one, stay neutral, stay neutral, stay neutral. Don't swing into highs when he returns or lows when he retreats. Please, please, please don't get overexcited, or don't go into the opposite of being overexcited. Mirror his pace. If he comes in lightly, keep it light until the field stabilizes. If he says hey, say hey back, just stop there. If he says how are you, you say you're fine and say how are you back. That's it. In fact, if he sends you 5 words, reply in 4 words. If he sends you 10 words, reply in 9 words. All right? Regulate your system first. He cannot hold contact if you are in collapse. How? If you are anxious, if you are thirsty, if you are running after him, how? Detach contact from validation. Don't use his messages as proof of love. See them as calibration. What stability actually looks like. You have broken the loop when contact no longer feels like oxygen you're starving for. You can go days without talking, without panic. Conversations no longer spiral into drama or testing. Both of you can hold silence without contact, meaning you don't need to fill the space with reassurance. This is stabilization. From here, union can begin to take root. So the message is this: getting out of no contact is not enough. You have to stay out of it. And that requires to break the cycle of silence, contact, collapse by becoming the anchor. And when you hold steady, the field holds steady. And when the field holds steady, the cycle ends. And when the cycle ends, union can finally, finally, finally begin. So that's the reason why you really, really, really have to understand. No contact is not the end of the twin flame journey. It's the cocoon phase. And when you surrender to it instead of fighting it, the cocoon opens and the next stage of union begins. All right? With that, I hope you have enjoyed this discourse. And do share your experience. I hope these practical tips help you in your journey. I'll come back again with another video, so because I should actually have lunch now because it's my lunch break. All right, with that, have a lovely, lovely, lovely Monday. I might try to do one after work today, but let's see how it goes. Thank you all for your beautiful comments. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Some of you guys are so kind. You've been saying, burgundy is my color, pink is my color. Oh my god, I love pink. And now that you say burgundy is my color, I'm loving burgundy too. I used to love green a lot, emerald green. I mean, it's still one of my favorite colors, but colors are beautiful. And really, guys, the twin flame journey is hard, and the best thing you can do for yourself is little things, spending time with your loved ones, talking to that colleague who, is always trying to do his or her best, or connecting with your family member, who's always excited to see a message from you, or just talking to your parents or your grandparents or your siblings or your nephew, your nieces. Sometimes all you need is a reminder that you are loved, you're valued. See, the twin flame journey, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to support a twin flame journey. But sometimes you don't have to tell people everything. People can only understand what they can comprehend. So that's why with that, guys, remember, you're always supported and loved. And people who truly love you will support you irregardless, even with what you share, with what you do not share. That's why surround yourself with people who are active listeners, active supporters. That is meditation. Go out to the nature, do some gardening, pluck out some weeds, plant some seeds. And when your divine masculine returns, you at least will have a garden. You can just pick your own fruits and vegetables and cook. You don't even have to go to the supermarket anymore. Truly, when I was in separation, that's all I did. Loads and loads of gardening, literally. Every day, before work, after work, the days that I work from home, during lunch breaks, gardening, like really. And I still garden today, do what you feel connects you to your highest always. All right, with that, see you all again. Take care. Love you all, and bye bye.